Welcome to Not a Great Whisperer podcast. I'm your host, Katy Rey, a fierce leader in the community, empowering you to be exactly who you are. I am joined today. Very excited. I think it's my brother from my mother. We're going to check the birth records. Chason Forehand, who is a joy. I'm going to let him tell you who he is. But we're a lot alike. We just have a lot of heart. And I met Chason about a year ago, right?
Right? Yeah, I think it's beginning of 2023. Yeah, so we're almost 2 years in.
Yeah. All the things on my heart for my nonprofit, and he said, just keep going. And I said, okay, Chason. Welcome to the show.
Oh, it's so good to be here. I think somewhere in the line there, we melded from wherever.
Yeah. I think somewhere.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I love your heart.
I love your heart. Tell the audience who you are.
You know what? I always had this question like dialed in. Someone asked me this. I had this snappy line. And I got challenged recently to change one of my things because I used to say, hey, I'm just a broken up old hockey guy that's just trying to make an impact in the world. And they said, you know what? I want you to stop saying the word broken because we're all human beings trying to figure it out. And I was like, you know what? That's a great perspective and mindset because we're having a lot of conversations right now, which I think is fantastic, about mental well-being and health. And I don't want it just to be because we're in a month that we're talking about suicide, we're talking about PTSD, we're talking about mental health. I want it to be ongoing conversations that we have with ourselves, that we have with others, that we open up in our leadership journey and with our companies. So I'm gonna say that I'm a guy that has seen some trauma as a kid, and through my own poor choices as a drug addict and someone who was homeless, someone that ended up just kept turning the wrong way, I found a path. And at the time, that path was through culinary. It was through harnessing that addiction and energy into something more positive in a creative fashion. I also was a huge fan of running, which I don't do as much now. I walk, but I don't do as much running since I've had knee replacements and stuff. It doesn't really like it. I don't care what they tell you. And RHO may come on here. Robert Hamilton Owens, who's he's 10 years older than me. He may come on and go like, Chason, I'm running. And I'm just going to be like, drop and give me 20. But I found that, that impact, that I could jog a little bit, but that impact on my knee, even after I'm what, a year and a half or so outside of the surgery, still that impact on my knee. I don't crawl. I can't get on my knees and crawl around. Yeah. And I can't take that thing. But I loved the idea of running. And I loved that getting out. And that was another thing that helped me. So getting out in nature and getting out to walk, and just sometimes I'll just stand in my backyard. I need 5 minutes and just be
outside, yes. Just jump out there. It's very healing. But you shifted it. Was it with guidance, or you just found, through addiction, through recovery? Was it through community that showed you culinary and running was kind of your outlet more than drug use, or was it you just trying new things?
Running started out as an escape. Running started out as I need to get out of where I am. Home is bad. Home is real bad. And I need to have something. And it's funny. I tell this story all the time and people laugh at me and go, no, this didn't. I come from an era that you could get paddled in school. And frequently, because I have all the Ds, ADHD, ADD, OCD, my wife laughs when we sit down at a table at a restaurant because I will move everything. Because it's like bothers me. I can't even look at the menu.
I have all the D's.
I have all the D's. And so the teachers don't know what to do with you. So they were like, get out of my class. So I go down, then I get paddled. And then one guy was like, just start running around the school. I'll come find you and tell you when to come in. Literally, that's how the track coach found me. Who is this lunatic that is just doing laps and just keeps running?
Cheers to that guy.
Cheers to that guy that said, man, because that led me on a path of getting into athletics.
He saw like that beating this kid isn't working, nor does it.
It's ridiculous.
And it's like, you need to be outside. You can't be on a desk for 4 hours. You can't be like, this is not a structure for you. How awesome that was.
Yeah. And it just led into, that was an escape. So, I mean, I many years were 8+ miles a day of running, plus some biking and lifting weights and stuff like that. But the journey, the crazy thing is that, and a lot of people, if you don't have an addictive personality or know someone that's gone through any kind of struggle like that, you don't realize that the addiction will just morph. It'll move because there's a couple of guys on social media that talk about this. You're trying to fill a hole. And this gaping hole is there, and you can address the drugs, the women, or whatever alcohol, whatever is your thing, but it's going to morph until you fix that hole. It's just going to keep on going. So I would take care of one thing, and then it would morph to another, then it morphed to another, and finally, after a lot of struggle and a lot of banging my head against the wall, it got to the place where community and outside help and asking the right questions and really doing the internal work made the difference, because that's now where I can talk about it, where before it's like I couldn't even have this conversation.
But that's where Transformation Kitchen, HR for You, Living Wages, like you lived the need. Like I think the most beautiful people are what you consider broken, or for me, it's what have walked through really hard times and gotten to the other side. They're my favorite. And I can tell any religious person that's listening, God and Jesus love our broken people, our messy people. Like this is where love lies, community lies, support. And just seeing people for who they are. I think that's really what connected us too, is we're so vocal about our stories, but we've also turned our stories into some type of mission. So talk about Transformation Kitchen and HR for You, all the things.
Well, HR for You started in 2022 with the idea that, there's three, we wanted to address pay equity, pay equality, and living wages for everyone. We see in communities, and I posted about this recently, that, it breaks my heart that I used to say 1/3 of the United States workers make below a living wage. It's now 44%. 44% of all the workers in the United States make below a living wage. They're struggling to take care of it.
Yeah, and you expect them to show up for their kids when they have to work 3 jobs. It's like, this doesn't make logic.
So there's real self-care issues, real mental health issues. There was burnout like crazy. People can't sustain that kind of lifestyle. It's not healthy. And so we started out as an advocacy group, really addressing, how do we do better? How do we uplift well-being and wages and people's worth? And then that has transformed into, while we're doing that, we want to put boots on the ground. So we are so close to getting Transformation Kitchen open and running in different formats this year. And I'm so excited. I'm so humbled by all the outpouring. And it's so incredible to see this, because we just started talking about this at the end of 2023. I had this bright idea that, as we're talking to different people, we've got our advisory board, we're meeting with partners like you, and we're saying, hey, look, let's talk about this. What do you think? Transformation Kitchen is our boots on the ground version of our advocacy. It's showing businesses what can happen, that, as Kofi talks about, what if we make an impact in our community? What if we strive for something better? What if we could show you how you can be financially sound and still pour into your people? What does that look like? So Transformation Kitchen is about teaching culinary skills, life skills, power skills to underserved people. Primarily, we're looking at people coming through their addiction and people that are coming in from reentry, trying to rebuild their lives, because that's what I see. I know I want to help with, but we're taking anybody from an underserved community that needs and wants to have that they're at that place in their life where they want to upskill. They want
I see kids aging out, foster kids being a part of that kitchen. What a cool community to build. And we're
gonna have different fingers of it. We're working on some stuff now that I can't really get into, but I will say that we're partnering up with some people to where we may have fingers of Transformation Kitchen that's age groups. So we'll have different age groups that we'll do stuff for, and then we'll have part of the kitchen where it's a physically run thing, a food truck and an actual restaurant style, fast casual type place that's run by the people in the program. We're so close to breaking this free and getting out. I'm so stinking excited about all the things.
How have you, for our listeners and me, this is a selfish interview too, how do you get through the hard days, right? The keep moving, keep going. What do you do personally?
Well, there's a couple of things that I've had to work on that, because I think it's true for a lot of people. I think it's especially true for nonprofit people. The struggle is real. And you may be as passionate as you could be. You know this. You could be so passionate and it's just oozing out of your pores. And then you just feel like, man, people aren't getting me. I'm telling the story, but it's not landing. And so I do a couple of things that are very intentional. At the beginning of the day and the end of the day with my wife, I pray, I do our devotional, and I work on my gratitude. I talk about my gratitude. I journal at different times during the day. I'm getting out in nature. I'm taking breaks, get out in nature. There's a place very close to me, 5 minutes or so from my house, that used to be a gravel track. And I would go and I wouldn't see very many people because it's gravel. Now they've paved it, so there's more people. And I'll go on there and, do some miles and just think. Just, play the music in my buds and just think. And say hey to people, force myself to do things that are uncomfortable. Because I'm really, if you told me that I was going to go talk to 15,000 people in Spain about Transformation Kitchen, I'm like, no problem. I don't need PDFs. I don't need, press it all. I'll just sit up there and talk. But you tell me I'm going to go down the street 10 minutes from my house and meet 10 random people that I don't know, and I'm going to talk about we don't know. I am horrified. I am petrified, but it just is.
What's self-awareness? And are you going to Spain to talk to 15,000 people?
I am not yet.
Manifested. I think that's important, the work where we put the effort in, right? And as a recovered addict, you could put the effort into blackout drunk. You know what I mean? Or you can put the effort into a walk and a gratitude. And that's funny because people are always like, oh, you're in the honeymoon stage of nonprofit. And I'm like, no, I've just done the work. If 5 years ago I was doing this work, I would probably be a hot mess trying to save everybody, not doing anything for myself, people pleasing and all that. But I'm in a different place. So I decompress after my days with the kiddos, the foster kiddos, and I turn everything's off and I just think and pray. And then I get home. You know what I mean? It's just, I think people don't you do the work on purpose. It's where do we put the effort in? So that's a perfect example. I've been journaling more. So I'm glad you said that. It's cool to write, thank you. And then you're okay, it's not that bad today. Or you see someone else in a different spot or just got a huge fundraising money and you're okay.
Yeah, I applied for that one too and got turned down. I'm oh.
But what's your timeline? Does end of year, you guys will be up and running?
That is the goal. I mean, our goal is that we can show impact, that we are driving the train and we are up and running by the end of this year. And I got to tell you, we are so close to making that happen. There's so many cool things that are going on, and I'm so stoked. I'm so stoked.
If you met me as a stranger on the street right now, the 10 people down the street, what would you say to me?
Say, hi, how are you? And you don't know that's, there were times in my life where just getting that out would be like,
Isn't that cool to see that though? You're very self-aware. So it's just fun to hear people and they're like, oh, I hate this, but I'll do this. I do understand that though, especially because, as you're for profit where you work with companies and you provide the HR services and all of that. But for nonprofit, it's harder because the passion that we exude is sometimes scares people. And I've been in sales my entire life, but talking about like a purpose, will change the world and that people not like understanding. I've been like shifting every time I speak about it, I kind of like shift it to see reactions.
I have to really believe. So, culinary world is food retail, and being in the culinary world in different environments, especially like the last couple of things that I was in really were outside of what you would think of normal culinary. Mm-hmm. Like a food, the very last corporate gig I had was a food-based, all natural skincare and healthcare products. And so I was the director of operations. So running the warehouses and making sure the FDA and the health department and OSHA and everything was in place, but also making sure that our physical locations were staffed. There's HR. I'm in charge of all of those things. And they all prepare you for doing what you do down the road. And I think it's important because I learned early on while I was knee deep in addiction and, get fired from one place, try to clean myself up and go to the next place and not even realizing how fortunate I was because I look like this. And it's not about how pretty I am. The fact that I'm a white dude that can speak well and can clean up. And I realized that privilege that a lot of other people could have gotten fired that didn't look like me, and they would not have been able to walk across the street and get another job. So there's a lot of unseen privilege in my story, and I am aware now where I wasn't aware then of where I've been and how to be grateful. And I love one of our partners, you may or may not know her. She has a book called Habits for Happiness, Janet Mohapi Banks. It's so interesting that happy is in her,
so cool.
And we're going to be giving out some of her books during Feed for Good. She talks about something that I'm very intentional about too. When I'm journaling, I have a book of wins. Do you have a book of wins? Do you talk about, don't grade it and don't belittle it by saying, oh, this is a small win. It's a large, no.
It's not just
win. It's a win. What are your wins today? What are your wins? If you haven't, if you got off track and you haven't journaled for a while, what are your wins since the last time you journaled? And what are you grateful for? So being in that mindset of realizing all of these things. Hey, you got a $2,000 check. Okay, well, you wanted the $30,000, but you got a $2,000 check. That's a win. That's gold. So those things change your mindset, and you keep being intentional about them. And then the next thing you know, it's just what if? You're just constantly perpetuating. I see a lot of that with you. I see a lot from your book to how you show up, how you shine, and then the things that you're doing in your incredible work with your nonprofit. That it just exudes. I watch you in the videos with your husband and your family, and it lights me up because I can tell that you get it, understand, and that's really important.
I think it's important for both of us to allow people to live in a sort of, I don't like to say like chasing happiness, but like in a place where they're proud of themselves and it's okay that mistakes were made, or it's okay that choices weren't the best, but like you get to now live fully and whatever that fulfillment looks like. Right when chatted for the first time from the Outlier Project, shout out to the Outlier Project, what cool people are there. But I was just like, wow. And people have been put into my life that you just need, like to remind, like, I'm doing this. It's been a year. You were like, it's been a year. We've been doing this. This is our advocacy program. Transformation Kitchen was a very new idea. It was a year ago. And then I got to join the advisory board, and then I got to see it in action. And I'm like, oh my God. So like my first board meeting, I was like, we're just going to show up. We're going to figure this. It doesn't even be organized. Like, we're just going to keep moving forward. Chason said, keep going forward. See what it looks like. People are always chasing the money aspect. Do I know I'll get a living wage eventually? Yes. And hopefully next year. But like right now, it just feels so good to be in purpose. And I have a lot of supportive layers. I know not everybody can do it the way I've done it. But we're balling on a budget right now. And it's okay because I feel real good when I'm teaching PE to foster kids. You know what I mean? Right. This is where like it lives. And as someone who came from sales and you're always chasing the revenue and you're always closing deals and it's like, this is actually where I'm myself. So it's like everything will show up where I am, providing for my family like I should and all the things. But you just helped me see that in the very beginning. And I took all those conversations of like new people to heart. Like this was meant to happen. So I appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you.
Things ever. And I appreciate you always like showing up real instead of just like, I'm doing all these things. You're like, I make mistakes along the way. Hey, we're almost there. Hey, life gets crazy sometimes, but you always just show up as yourself. And I think people need more of that in leadership because it's really important. You're fantastic. Are you so excited?
You are very kind.
You are. Thank you. But so what are some of the things you want to like tips for people that have something on their heart or experienced that they want to push forward with? Like, what are some of Chason's thoughts on, or what will we call this time? Chason's challenge to you. Hashtag.
My challenge to you, Chason's challenge is for you to love yourself, because that's everything starts with being okay with the person that's staring back at you in the mirror. Everything starts there. And it, for me, it took a long time to get there. For everybody, it's different. And forgiving yourself and realizing that you're okay and doing the work to be okay, but really loving yourself. I'm going to challenge you to love yourself and then really get into a good place so that you can start doing whatever it is you want to do in life. And on that journey, remember to count your blessings, be thankful, start and end your day with gratitude, be humble. I can't tell you how many times in my life I have followed the learn, unlearn, and relearn. I mean, just there's some stuff I needed to dump. I thought I'll give you one example. I thought I was a great DEIAB guy until the pandemic happened. And I started unlearning a lot of stuff and relearning what I was wrong about and what I had a misconception and how my biases were showing up. And I didn't even really know it. So I think there's a lot of growth in starting with great things for yourself and then being at a place of constantly learning. One of my favorite quotes about learning is from Albert Einstein, and it effectively says, essentially, we are either constantly learning or we are dying. And I believe that wholeheartedly. I want to every single day learn and grow and thrive. It doesn't mean that I'm dialing down in some Coursera thing. It may mean, I'm learning something about myself. but it's that growth phase is really what it's talking about. How are you growing today? That's a book, that's more journaling, that's self-care, whatever that looks like for you. And I just want to encourage more people to do that, because we would be a lot healthier society if we would do those things.
Do you read minds? Because I was going to talk about how much I love that you learn every day, and then you went into always learning. I'll always be learning. I changed it from always be closing to always be learning.
Always be learning.
I was like, wow, Chason literally just read my mind. Because I do love that about you, because you like own that piece. Like, I learned this today. I'm going to start doing this. Okay, where can we find you? Where can we donate? Not your address or your social security number, but like your.
Well, right now for Feed for Good, Zeffy is our platform for that. That's a 4-hour live virtual event that we're hosting. We've got musicians, we've got chefs, we've got artists. You can bop in. We're going to be giving away books. We're going to be talking about a lot of cool stuff that you can go through our Zeffy. You'll find that all over. I just posted about it again today, and all of our great sponsors for the event. But you can find me on pretty much, you can find me and HR for You on pretty much every social media. And if you just happen to be on Facebook, please give us a like our page so that we can start going back to streaming our live events. We have 3 shows, 2 of them are lives, and we can't do it on Facebook anymore because we didn't have enough followers. So
HR for You?
Yeah, HR for You. I have enough
hr-foryou.org on Facebook. Oh
yes.
my God. I just liked it. I'm going to share it now.
There we go.
I've been on every other platform, but is that why you all aren't very much on Facebook? Is because they stopped you from a lot? Oh, okay. Because I was like, I feel like when we met, I never heard you bring up Facebook Live. It was always LinkedIn.
Yeah, no, we really, that's been a slow platform for us because I wasn't on there personally.
Okay.
If it wasn't for the nonprofit, I probably would be very little on social media. It's one of those things that stretches me. Again, it's a discomfort. It's a comfortable discomfort. And so I push myself, but Facebook is probably one of our slower platforms. We have a monetized YouTube channel. We're crushing it there. We've got some great stuff happening on LinkedIn. You know, I'll say this real quick. I know we're out of time, but I'll say this real quick. It's so funny because I watch all the people that have like all of these followers on LinkedIn. When you look at a post and you look at their impressions, you can see certain things. They're lucky if they're getting 0.5%. Like they got 30,000 followers. They're lucky if they're getting 300 people or whatever, to like their post. And what we get anywhere from 1% to 5% of the people that are in our follower group on LinkedIn. I think, and we, on our newsletters, we get 80% right now of the people open the emails and will actually click on the links. Mm-hmm. I think it's because people like the message and they understand it. It isn't because of this guy, but it's because the message and what we're trying to do. So
I think that has to do with you, Chason, though, because you reach out to people and you connect with people personally, and people take away that when they really push like email marketing and this and that. Like you're reaching out to people you've never actually, well, I hate the word touch, but like you actually make it a point to reach out to people. I think you're not giving yourself credit there. So that's why your social has so much engagement. Even if you have like half the followers to someone, you have engagement, and people don't say that enough. Like the engagement is it.
Hey, there are days I will laugh because there are days where I won't post, but I will just repost and comment on other people's stuff. And I have more engagement. I'll have double the engagement on that day than any other day. And to me, collaboration is what we preach. So that's why we have 100 partners in 6 different countries now. We started with 8 in the middle of 2022 when I had our first website. Now we're on our 5th iteration of our website. But it's people like you that help us shine, and we can shine a light on the awesome stuff that you do. And it just makes the world a better place. Collaboration. Yep.
Well, you're making the world a better place, and we adore you. And you can find Chason Forehand everywhere because he's famous. But definitely follow like all the things. Follow the channel, the podcast, the YouTube channel, the LinkedIn for HR for You, Transformation Kitchen. I'm super excited for this launch. And thank you so much for joining Not a Great Whisperer podcast.
Oh, I love it. Thank you.